Stanford, they're tied for second. Nebraska on the floor, Stanford on the horse, ASU on the rings. And this is Dennis Hayden, twin brother of Dan.
Dennis has a great exercise because he has all kinds of strength moves right at the beginning. He does a back roll to a cross, a pull-out, and a planche. Those are some of the toughest strength moves you can do, and he does them all right at the beginning of the exercise. Okay, now he's going to press to a handstand, and I expect the rest of the exercise will be mostly swing moves.
And a year ago at these NCAA championships, Dennis injured his left knee seriously. Are you surprised to see him this far back this soon?
I'm especially surprised because he elected not to go through the reconstructive surgery, and you can tell he's wearing a brace on his left leg. A layout double back, and he handled the landing perfectly.
And the impact on his knee when he lands, boy, what a remarkable performance by a man who only a year ago shattered his knee. That's Dennis Hayden from ASU. He scored 9.45, and what a difference a year can make, not just for Dennis Hayden, but also for Wes Suter, who was near perfect here in 1985, perhaps inspired by his dad, who was battling cancer.
I definitely did most of my gymnastics for my dad, and it was tough when he died. You know, it was a real hard thing for me to understand who I'm doing gymnastics for anymore. So that's why the first part of this year has been a little tough, but I think I've learned how to deal with it, and so the last part of this year has been going really well. You know, think about him constantly and think about, you know, what would he think, you know, if my, you know, this year and the way it's gone. He never put any pressure on me at all to go out there and to win. I mean, he was always there as, you know, just an encouragement. So I'm sure he wouldn't be putting any added pressure on me right now. It'd just be, you know, go out and do a good job.
Wes Suter bouncing back from a tough year. He's on the floor for Nebraska.
West is a great mount. I love that mount. It's a 1.5 twisting back somersault, punch immediate full twist dive roll. It's an interesting combination, a really unusual mount.
You know, you talked about Wes Suter earlier, Bart Connor, and you talked about this as being a stepping stone in his career, not the be-all and end-all.
I think Wes has a tremendous future as a great all-around performer. He's a clean gymnast, he has a nice style, and yet he can do the difficulty. Here's a nice tuck double back in his second tumbling run.
I know when we talked to him, he mentioned the Olympics a couple of years from now as being one of his goals.
I really see the Olympics as part of Wes Suter's future.
And in order to be an Olympian, you must be an all-arounder, in other words, showing excellence in the 6 different events. And in this age of specialization, it's nice to see someone who can do it all.
So far, he is just gliding through the exercise. Everything is smooth. He seems very much in control. Here's his last tumbling run. Double twist. Now that's a little bit low.
You might get some argument from his girlfriend, Molly Gurnett, and his mom in the stands. Wes Suter, a hometown favorite here in Nebraska. Wes Suter getting some deserved credit from his teammates and from Jimmy Hartung, the man who started the Nebraska dynasty not long ago. Wes Suter's score, 9.7. A solid performance, and they certainly needed that. Now let's go over to Stanford, and this is Randy Sosa.
Randy's actually very good on the pommel horse, but they've had some trouble before Randy. The first 3 guys had a rough time on the horse. Let's see if Randy can hold it together. So far, it's very smooth, nice rhythm in the exercise. That's very important. Okay, good work with the flares on the end to a handstand. That's going to score well. They needed that one.
They certainly needed that one, and they may even need some help from Buddha, as we talked about earlier. Randy Basosa on the horse for Stanford. 9.5 for Basosa. Stanford shaky on the horse. Problems in the competition. Arizona State, meanwhile, in the thick of this competition, led by the Haydens. Inseparable since birth, brothers and best of friends. Their bond, the glue that holds ASU together.
They're great. They brought a family atmosphere to the team that we all appreciate. I think a team unity in an individual sport is very, very important. And to have that team influence, care about the other guy, we really believe in it, and they've brought that with them.
This may be a team sport, but without individual stars, no team can win. Enter Dan Hayden, 5-time All-American.
Dan is so great on the rings. Notice the perfect position, the perfect body line, and solid handstands. Very few gymnasts in the world have the same kind of body tightness. I guess the only one who's even close is his brother Dennis. Nice strength work. He did an inverted cross, lower down to a regular cross. Notice perfectly straight arms, good control of the rings, nice tight body. It's a front giant swing. Now he's gonna bail for his dismount. Nice giant to a full twisting double. One step, but that's a great exercise.
Dan Hayden, only a sophomore. It gives you an idea of why he was voted as a freshman Gymnast of the Year in the Pac-10 a year ago. There's a score, 9-6-5 for Dan Hayden on the rings from ASU. So at the halfway mark, Nebraska, on the strength of a strong team effort on the floor, moves ahead of Arizona State. Stanford is third. Arizona State are locked in a showdown. Stanford is third. Three new events. Vault, Arizona State goes there. Parallel bars for Nebraska. High bar for Stanford. I'm John Dockery along with Bart Connor, and this is John Sweeney from Arizona State on the vault.
Sweeney's a good vaulter. He has good speed and a nice laid-out Tsukahara from a one-handed push. That is a tough vault to do.
And do you sense there's some pressure on Arizona State as we watch the replay?
Well, they're in a good event for their team. I don't think they have any trouble here. Nice push. Look at the height and the perfect position in the air. That's a tough vault, let alone off of one hand.
There's a change of momentum. Nebraska so good on the floor, took over the lead. Arizona State must do well in the vault in order to stay with Nebraska. Here's the score, 9.6. A good vault for Sweeney. And this is Wes Suter on the parallel bars.
Nebraska is great on the parallel bars, especially Wes. He has such a nice style. Look at the clean Stutz, Diamidov. And another one right to the handstand. A very nice exercise.
You know, you talk to Francis Allen, and he talks about having the 5 best all-arounders in the country. He's worried about depth, but he says his top 5 guys can win it for him.
And talking about nailing a dismount, that's the way you do it. He was a little off balance here on the Stutz, but he pulled it through, straightened himself out. Now, this is what I love about Wes Suter. Look at his knees are together, his toes are pointed, and he plants the landing. That's the way you win gymnastic meets.
Style and talent, Wes Suter, and here's the score, 9.7. Suter adding to Nebraska's lead. Meanwhile, Stanford will need some inspiration from their leader, John Lewis. Earlier in the year, he found a creative way to psych up his teammates.
Let me introduce me, je m'appelle Jean-Louis, and I cordially invite you to the party. We got Gary, Andy, Chuck, Scott, and Randy, Mark, Mike, and me, your host, Jean-Louis. So let's all begin. You see, we like to win, and we ain't gonna stop till we each score a 10. Take it.
Well, like Arnold's the buffer, I'm a little bit rougher, but that just makes me a little more tough.
But I am not. Oh, hi, my name is Scott, and I just like to say we're a pretty tough lot.
Now introducing the star of the show, Coach Sadao Hamada.
Well, Bart, it worked for the Chicago Bears.
And actually, it's worked very well for Stanford. This is the best finish they've ever had in NCAA competition, but really they're overmatched today. Arizona State and Nebraska are really tough.
Okay, this is Captain Video, John Lewis, up on the high bar.
He has a great routine. In fact, every performance he's been doing all weekend long has been really good. Nice mount, one arm to a ginger, good difficulty. A full pirouette, and he rolls into what they call eagle giant swings. Back giants ready for a dismount. A laid out double back. A little step on the landing, but a nice exercise.
And John Lewis has performed so well all afternoon for Stanford, but his teammates have had their problems.
He is really the rock on this team. He is so solid. Notice here on his release move is the one-arm giant swing. He pikes and arches at the bottom, what we call a tap swing. A backflip, one half turn. He's way over the bar and a perfect regrasp. Nice trick.
John Lewis for Stanford. And here's the score, 9-7-5. an excellent score, but you have to wonder if it's too little, too late. So after 4 rotations, Nebraska holds on to its lead over Arizona State. Stanford is fading.
In the weeks ahead.
After 4 rotations, it's really a 2-team race between Nebraska and Arizona State. Now Stanford goes to the vault, Arizona State to parallel bars, and Nebraska to the high bar. And Don Robinson looking for his first NCAA championship in 18 years of coaching at ASU. Francis Allen confident to the point of predicting a Nebraska victory. And as we watch the judges confer, it's the first year that coaches have been able to protest or inquire about a routine.
And because of the new difficulty requirements, both the coaches and the judges are getting used to these new rules. I tell you, it sounds a little confusing to me. Very few sports are you allowed to really second-guess the judge's decision.
So it's really a watchdog situation.
Absolutely.
This is Mike Epperson on the high bar for Nebraska.
So far, his routine is very good. Nice one-arm work to a ginger. Beautiful inverted giant swings. It's not the most difficult exercise, but it's so clean, you can't take any deductions. Look at that dismount. Perfect landing. You know, when you get down to the team finals, very few teams are going to outstick Nebraska. Notice the perfect position in the air. Nice tight arch. Talking about cold cocking a landing. That's how you win meets.
Mike Epperson from Nebraska. And there's his score, 9.8, an outstanding. Now it's Dennis Hayden on the parallel bars for Arizona State, and he's continuing that shootout between Arizona State and Nebraska.
And both Dennis and Dan are two of the finest parallel bar workers in the world. Look at that giant swing. Tremendous amplitude. Another one. Okay.
You saw the clap there. What was that?
His whole team was clapping along with him. It was just a simple hop pirouette, but it's an original skill. Stutz. Okay, he's ready for the dismount. Looks like his coach is stepping in, Scott Barkley, just to make sure everything's okay. He's fine on the landing. Good exercise.
Fine on the landing, and it appears Dennis Hayden isn't having any problems with that injured left knee.
Here's his hop pirouette on the side. It's kind of a fun skill because it's not very difficult. But as he releases the bar, he claps his hand. And as you noticed, all of his teammates clapped at the same time. You know, even though they can't be out there performing with you, it's a sign like that that really lets you know that they're supporting you all the way.
And Don Robinson talked about that earlier. We are a team, we are a family, and that's part of the reason that ASU is so good. And there's the score, 9.7 for Dennis Hayden on the parallel bars. This is Neil Palmer, the junior from Nebraska, getting ready for the high bar.
Neil's great on the high bar. He's so big and so long. His swings are fluid.
5'9", 165 pounds. Does that give him an edge, or is it a hindrance?
Well, on this event, it's actually better. Okay, it's a little close on that release move, but it was from a one-arm giant swing to a ginger. That's very difficult. Notice the nice long swing, nice extension. It's a Stalder. Okay, he's winding up for the dismount. A full twisting double and perfect stick. What a nice dismount.
And this competition is heating up. The crowd senses it also. It's a battle between Arizona State and Nebraska. Neil Palmer doing his part right there with a beautiful routine.
Neil is very much like Wes Suter. We talked about how important it is for the gymnast to be clean in execution and form. Notice the position here in the full twisting double. Look at his knees are together, his toes are pointed. Beautiful position in the air, and it makes for a great landing.
And for a fine score, 9.75. And a happy Neil Palmer. And this is Gary Smith, the senior from Stanford. He's ready for the vault.
Gary's a very powerful vaulter. Okay, now that's a handspring front with a half in a laid out position. He had to bend his knees a little bit, and it looks like his ankles are a little bit sore. Rough day for Stanford.
Smith on that vault, and when you look at Stanford, they really don't have the horses that necessarily